We give praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High Yah, name of Yahushua HaMashiach this day. Let's hit this John 5:39. John 5:39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you would not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you that you have not the love of Alahym in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that comes from Alahym only? Do not think that I will accuse you to Abba. There is one that accused you, even Moses, in whom you trust. For had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how should you believe my words? Hey there, Trina, how you doing? Let's take it. Let's take ourselves back to Romans chapter 5. Let's take ourselves back to Romans chapter 5. 5 and 12. Wherefore, as by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin, so death passed upon all men. That's good to hear. For all that have sinned. For until Torah, sin was in the world, but sin is not imputed where there is no Torah. We discussed that on Wednesday, that there was no sin in the garden because there was no Torah, because he had no knowledge of Torah. But now we're going to go in a little bit in depth and start to get some more understanding on this particular matter that we're looking at in regards to the mystery of iniquity and the mystery of Alahym, how they ran simultaneously, but also to get a better understanding of the knowledge, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and then tree of life. One representing faith, one representing the law. And we'll make that clear and we'll make that plain. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 2. What's going on with you, man? That's Genesis chapter 2, right? You pick it up at verse 4. I surmise verse 4 worked well. These are the generations of Shamahim and of Arats, when they were created in the day that Yahuwah Alahym made Shamahim and Arats and Shamahim. And every plant of the field, before it was in their rats, and every herb of the field before it grew, Yahuwah Alahym had not caused it to rain upon their rats, and there was not a man. Shalom, man. It's good to see you too, man. I meant to call you today too, and I forgot. My apologies for that. And they caused the rain upon their rats. What's going on, Doc? And there was not a man to till the ground. Let's look at something, right? Let's deal with that. I wasn't planning on starting right here off the top, but we're going to start right here, right off the top. When you look at that word plant, I don't think I wrote the word plant down because that ain't what I wanted, because plant, you already know what that is. But the word before, every plant of the field before it was in the earth. And when we look at this word before, we have a word called teram. It means before, not yet, or before that. Do you know what I'm talking about? So when you look in regards to that, what does that mean? Well, you have a tet, you have a rosh, and you have a mean. So when you look at that, you see that individuals were contained or surrounded by the water or the blood of the chief. So how can we surmise that? It's going to take us back to something that we've discussed before in the 138th Psalm, where it says that I knew all my members were written in a book. Let's just go on and get it because I'm not quoting it correctly. Psalms 139, my apologies. So we had to go read it because I gave you the wrong psalm and I ain't say it right. Psalms 139, right? About verse 15 is sufficient. And it says, my substance was not hid from you when I was made in secret, curiously worked in the lowest parts of the earth. So we know that this is referring to his death. Your eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect, and in your book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned. What's going on with your mind? When as yet there was none of them. So what does this mean? He said that all of his members were written in the book before any of them were ever made, or they were designated for salvation from the beginning, because we talked about that book. Everybody whose name is in the book is going to receive salvation, and they won't worship the beast. But then you see before any, let's go back to Genesis chapter 2. Because remember, he told you the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end. He told you every plant of the field before it was in the earth. Now, remember, we talked about this on Wednesday. No, I think he just hurt himself. He just fell down. Remember, we talked about planted. You get plant, you get affixed, you get established. That's natah. You get the experience that contains eternal life. Remember, he said, every tree which my heavenly Father has not planted. So when we're looking at planting, if he planted you, then there has to be a byproduct of fruit, and there has to be evidence of what that fruit is. And he's already let us know through the mouth of his apostle Paul, what are the examples of said fruit, or the benefit or profit that is gained from the exercising or usage of faith. So, but nevertheless, when you see that before that they were was in the earth. So every plant that was in that field. Now, the word field is a word sadah. I want you to come over here to Ecclesiastes 5 and 9, something that we've looked at before. And I want you to take a look. And from Ecclesiastes 5 and 9 with the word sadah, before we go into the characters with it, which is Sean, Dalit, and Hay, we'll take a look at Matthew 13. Ecclesiastes 5 and 9. It says, moreover, the profit of the earth is for all. Now, it don't say that in the language of say for all. It just says the profit of the earth is for the king or the Malik himself. That is for all is not even there. So what it's basically going to tell you, moreover, the profit of the earth is for the king. And he's served by the field. Same word for field that's in Genesis 2 and 5 is the same word that is used here in Ecclesiastes 5 and 9. So the gain of the field, or the gain of the plants of the field, because every tree that my heavenly Father has planted, this is for the king. Let's turn around and see that in Matthew chapter 13. That's why I be telling y'all about your life, not your own. You know what I'm saying? If your desire is not to the vision of your husband and the plan that he has for his household, you're just a stubborn, rebellious, clamorous woman, period. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing godly about you. You can't claim to be no godly woman. And if you think I'm talking about just a woman, then you sadly mistaken. You can't claim to be no godly woman and seek your own vision in the midst of your husband's vision. How that work? You can't claim to be no godly woman and your desire is not to your husband. Remember, the woman was made to be a helpmeet, not two separate individuals doing their own thing. That's a new thing in the earth. That's worldly stuff. That's Gentile stuff. That's Anglo-Saxon stuff. The woman got her own dreams and I'm over here doing this, and the man, that's not how this works. If you're going to say to be godly, then you have to do it all the way through. You lose your soul being out of bounds in just one area. You'll lose your soul being out of pocket in just one area. But truth be told, what a problem come in that is women are marrying men who haven't even laid out what vision they have for the family. So, of course, she's going to have her own vision and own plan, because you didn't have a vision when you stepped to her. So you the fool for not having one, and she the fool for following you because you didn't have one. You know what I'm saying? If that woman asks you, well, what's your plan and what's your vision, and you don't even have one, you're not cut to lead no one. How can you lead someone when you don't know where you're going? That means you don't have a way to get there. You can't change stuff up on the fly. You can't figure it out as you going. That's not leadership, and that's not manliness. That's not masculinity, and that's not godliness in the least bit. That's chaos. That's confusion. That's stupidity. You know what I'm talking about? For both parties. Because that means you're not mature enough to take on that responsibility because you don't know where you're going. And you can't be doing no trial and error when you got people under your care. You can't be figuring it out as you go. It's people's lives you're responsible for. You can't do that. That's selfish. You know what I'm saying? You could have to be man enough to say, I like you. I'd like to marry you. I need to get my mind right first. My mind ain't right. I'm still immature. But see, that would take a level of humility that we don't possess because most men are too proud to say that I ain't ready. Oh, I'll figure it out. That's pride. That's what the world done taught us. We can't be with Alahym with that type of thought process. Can't be. It's not going to work. Matthew chapter 13. Be picking up at verse 36. Because I'm going to use both of these in a minute. I'm going to tie that back to something else in a minute. Y'all willing? That's for real, man. Shoot. I guarantee you right now, every one of you women, you know a woman, she talking about she want to be married, she interested in it, you better make sure that woman, what your vision is for the family, so you know if you want to get down with it. Don't get with a dude and then you mad at the vision and the direction he wants you to go, and you wasn't down with it from the jump street because now you stupid, because he already told you what it was. You had a choice to make. You could have chose not to get down with it, or you could have got down with it. Don't complain about it. That's where we make mistakes at. People tell you what it is, and you don't want to believe it, and then get upset when you got down with it. See, that's what happened with a lot of people when they serve Yahuwah. See, they find out, they hear the vision, they say, oh yeah, that sounds cool. No, but then, oh, I don't want to do all that. My desire to my husband, all the way around the board, whatever he with, I'm with it. I'm with it. My desire is to him and what he got going on. This is one of the reasons why Mashiach say, not my will be done, but your will be done. Because his desire was to him. That's how your mind got to be if you desire to be saved. You can't have your desire being what you want to do and then what my husband got going on. You going to hell. Ain't no way around it. Because you're not going to walk in his will. You're going to walk in your own will. And at that point, you're not submitting yourself under the mighty hand of Alahym, and therefore you're proud, and he resists the proud. So why would you lose your life in such a fashion for being selfish? Pride and selfishness is the root of damnation all the way around the board. Don't let that be the reason. Don't let that be the reason. Nevertheless, Matthew 13 and 36. Then Yahushua sent the multitude away and went into the house, and the disciples came unto him, saying, declare unto us the parable of the tares of the field. He answered and said unto them, he that sow good seed is the Son of Man. That take us back to that garden. That take us back to the son served by the field. So when you got that Sean Dalit and hay, we can see that man with raised arms was consumed when he was hanged. This is how the field is able to profit him. This is how before the plants of the field, before he even was, this is how this going to go down. Because you were in him from the foundation of the world, because he was sacrificed from the foundation of the world. You have to understand that. That's the difference between a tree of life and a tree of knowledge of good and evil. Because one is of faith and one is of the law. Those who are the law are going to hell. Not because of the law, but because they didn't do it by faith, which we're going to see. And it's going to cause their destruction. When you seen your forefathers die in the wilderness, they didn't die just because of no law. They died because they didn't believe in Yahuwah. And he told you that in the 32nd chapter of Deuteronomy in the 20th verse. This is children in whom have no faith. Period. That's his statement in the Torah. All you had to do was believe. The greatest commandment is to believe in Yahuwah. Don't let nobody tell you that that's a Christian ethos and things of that nature. That's asinine. Because for a woman to follow her husband and her desire to be to her husband, she must trust him. That means that you have faith and hope and expectation of the manifestation of the vision that he has laid out for the family. So if you don't have trust, that means you trust his leadership. You trust his judgment. You trust his wisdom. You trust his understanding. You trust his knowledge. You trust his strength. You trust his teaching. It's very difficult for you to follow someone and love someone who you do not trust. You wonder why people fall off from the word. It's not just because they don't want to do what's in it. They didn't trust their husband. Their desire wasn't to their husband. So they did not have a desire to follow him because they were rebellious in heart, foolish in heart. That's what it comes down to. This is why he said a woman of a meek and quiet ruach was of great price to him. Which we're going to see some of that too. We got a lot of stuff in the back. Let me keep rolling though. 38, verse 38. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. The enemy that sowed them is the devil, and the harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the Malachim. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be at the end of the world. So the man shall send forth his Malachim, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Abba. Who have ears to hear, let them hear. Remember, right? Shamar, I mean, you got an ear of faith. Faith come by hearing, and hearing come by the word. Those who are the word, they going to hear. Those who are not, it's going to go right over their head. But let's go back. And let's grab this Ephesians 1, and then we'll swing our way back to Genesis chapter 2. Keep on rolling. Keep on rolling. Some people may get offended. Some people might not agree. But the words say what it say. Examine it for yourself and see if it's true. But if you see if it's true and you're not, and we have to realize something too, right? I want y'all to know something, right? Just because you gather up on the Shabbat, just because you listen to the word being preached, just because you don't eat no pork, and I told y'all this so many times, don't mean you going to get in. If your faith is not right and that you are not fully committed yourself to the service of Yahuwah. You know what? I'll wait till I got niggas in person. Because it's something I mentioned, and it's real talk, right? Because a lot of the things that you do and the thought of the people that you look up to and you surround yourself with is indicative of your desire to your husband. And you can feel and think however you want to feel and think about it. But at the end of the day, that's the reality of the situation. That's the reality of the situation. Like, man, look, it's a new year, man. It's a new year. You going to keep around here with the same lackadaisical service? The same doubting, the same complaining, the same backsliding, the same nonsense? You going to come into another year with this here? You going to sip this man's blood and eat his flesh another year full of nonsense? Or you going to gird up your loins and stand firm upon the rock and make sure that your election is sure? The choice is yours. Because if you know you ain't serious about saving your soul, man, close up your tent. Go do what you want to do. Don't go to hell halfway serving. Because halfway service is no service as far as he's concerned. He told you if you're lukewarm, he going to spit you out his mouth. You think he playing? You think he talking? Oh, it's because you ain't seen a miracle? Because you ain't seen something you thought should come to pass? Because other people playing? What does other people playing around with the word got to do with your service? Because that's the most dumbest thing in the world I ever hear people say. Well, ain't nobody right. So what does somebody else got to do with you? You know what I'm saying? That don't make no sense. So because everybody else smoking crack, you going to smoke it too? Well, everybody else gay, I might as well be gay because that's what that sound like to me. Everybody else lying, so I might as well be lying. What other people do when they service to Alahym ain't got nothing to do with yours. They ain't got nothing to do with yours. I wouldn't care if I was around 1,000 people who claim to be in the word and they were hypocrites. What that got to do with me? What they do don't dictate what I do. But see, that's people's excuse when you want to do what you want to do. And I'm telling you this here now too, because a lot of y'all been drinking mixed wine and wearing linen and wool because you've been trying to mix worldly concepts with heavenly concepts. You need to stop doing it before you find yourself in the wrong place. Stop trying to bring the world's ethos and doctrines and teachings and feelings and commandments and mix it with Yah's word. It's abominable and disrespectful. Keep them worldly perspectives out of the words of Shamahim. They don't mix. Stop doing it. Ephesians chapter 1. We'll pick it up about verse 7. Verse 4 is sufficient. He said, according as he have chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be kadosh and without blame before him in love, having predestinated us unto the adoption of children by Yahushua HaMashiach to himself, according to the good pleasure of his will, to the praise of esteem of his grace, when he made us accepted in the beloved. in whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins, according to the riches of his grace, when he abounded towards us in all wisdom and prudence, having made known unto us the mystery of his will, according to his good pleasure, which he hath purposed in himself. There they did it right, the mystery of his will. The mystery of his will is hidden in Yahushua HaMashiach. That's the mystery of Alahym. The mystery of iniquity, or the mystery of lawlessness, is encapsulated in another fashion. You know, this came to my head right real quick. This ain't got nothing to do with nothing. I seen a brother say this. I said this to y'all before. And he told no lie. He said, Hamashiach used to preach to the people and to his apostles for hours. I've told y'all about that. Remember, say Paul was long preaching to the point dude fell asleep and fell through the roof. And niggas complain about 2-hour sermons. That tell you a lot how much you really love your husband and you love to hear about him. Love to hear him talk to you. Love to hear him display his vision to you. That really tell you how you feel about your husband. I sure wish that nigga shut up. Because in reality, you ain't saying you wishing the preacher shut up. You saying you wishing y'all would shut up. How would y'all even be able to exist if you lived in that time period of the apostles, or the time period of Hamashiach, when this man preaching for 8, 12, and 16 hours? You understand that? Like 8, 12, 16 hours. Niggas complain about an hour. But you niggas will go sit and watch a movie with bated breath, loving every minute of it. Of nonsense. Can't pay attention to save your life. Cut on some nonsense and some ungodliness and you locked in. Like, you have to really look at yourself. Like, do you really love your husband like you say you do? Because if not, you really love, you cheating on your husband with the devil. That's who you love. He entertain you more. That's why you like him. He fun. He keep me engaged. I have fun when I'm with him. Like a regular slut. You know what I'm talking about? That's why he said, Jesus, you open your feet to everybody that pass by. Everything in life ain't supposed to be fun. That's the first thing you have to realize, man. When you become an adult, you realize that everything ain't fun. And saving your soul ain't supposed to be about having fun. Oh, yeah, very complacent. People try to take the word, make it entertaining. This is not for your entertainment. This is for your salvation. I was just talking with a brother about this today, and I felt like this my entire life. Learning is not supposed to be fun. See, when you end up making learning fun, when you get up and people become adults, they don't have a desire to learn because they only want to be learned when they're entertained. Learning is supposed to be for the improvement and elevation of self. That is an undertaking. That is a labor. That's work. And it's not supposed to be fun. It's for your betterment. When you make everything fun, you'll get to the point, as she mentioned, that you're going to be complacent or you're not going to take things seriously. Because it's not fun. That's what's wrong with people. Everything has to be fun. Why are you so intellectually inept that you must be entertained to learn? That says something about us, that we have to be entertained to learn. You have allowed someone to tell you that you do not have the intellectual, mental capacity to take in information unless I entertain you. They're basically telling you you're no smarter than a child. You should feel disrespected. This is not common ways that people learn throughout the annals of history. This is a modern thing. You can't get caught up in that in the games these people playing to dumb you down and make you stupid and easily pliable to be manipulated. But guess what it's not a big deal. You're tripping. Keep on. You wonder why these niggas so dumb. You wonder why they so dumb. Because they dumbing them down right in your face and we actively participate in it and cheer it on and promote it. Learning is a reason why they call certain fields of study disciplines. There's a reason why they're called that. Disciplines aren't fun. The text tells you this. When Yah disciplines you, it don't feel good. It's not fun. Stop looking at things that are to better you and elevate you as fun. You're not a child. You're grown. You're grown. Stop thinking like a child and think like a man. How else are people going to be directed if we still thinking like little boys and want to have fun and be entertained all the time? Our sons are dying out here. Our daughters are destroying their bodies every single day. And all we want to do is have fun and talk about nonsense. And we comfortable with it. And you wonder why these women are disillusioned and don't want to follow you. And you wonder why. Because if I was a woman, I wouldn't want to follow you niggas either. You don't know what you're doing. We modeling ourselves off the niggas on Instagram and celebrities. All these niggas is sinners. Why do we even care? These niggas are of the devil. Do you understand that and know that? They are of the devil. I don't care who they are. If they don't serve Yah, they're of the devil. Period. No exceptions. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's what it is. Swallow that pill and accept it. He that commits sin is of the devil. Period. You are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. Period. There is no discussion. There is no debate. You got to accept that. So why do we even care what these people got going on? But we say we the godly seed. But we want to be like them. And we want to do what they doing. That's why we in this land right now. Because you seen them nations and you say, I want to do what they doing. That's why you exiled right now. And you're still making the same mistakes. And happy about it at that. And think y'all pleased with it. Nevertheless. Verse 9. Verse 10 actually. That in the dispensation of the fullness of time, he might gather together in one all things in a Mashiach, both which are in Shamahim and which are in Arats, even in him, as we've seen in Matthew 13. And whom also we have obtained an inheritance, being predestinated according to the purpose of him, who work all things after the counsel of his own will, that we should be to the praise of his esteem, who first trusted in the Mashiach, whom you also trusted after that you heard the word of truth, the gospel of your salvation, whom also after you believed, you were sealed with the Ruach HaKadosh of promise, which is the earnest of our inheritance unto the redemption of the purchased possession, unto the praise of his esteem. See, that's the thing you got to remember, right? You a purchased possession. See, a lot of people not being sealed with the Ruach HaKadosh of promise because clearly you don't believe it. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to change all that by letting the gospel be brought forth so you can know the goodness and the power and the might and the mercy and the salvation of your Alahym through Yahushua HaMashiach, and that you may lay your trust upon him, that he might seal you with that life-giving gift, and that you might be counted worthy to enter into his kingdom and be esteemed and bask in his light and in his might. So nevertheless, back to Genesis chapter 2. That's some high quality H2O. We in verse 5. Every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew. For Yahuwah Alahym had not caused it to rain upon their rats, and there was not a man to till the ground. When we look at the word rain in this verse, in this passage, it is matar. It is matar. And you have meme, and you have tet, and you have rosh. And you see how the chief contains the Ruach HaKadosh. The Ruach had not been rained. This is why the plants had not grown. How does this relate? John 7:37. And it's really about verse 39 that we come into John 7 for. But this is why they had not grown or become fully matured at this time. Because remember, he tell you the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end. You know, it's a blessed thing, man. You know, y'all willing. What, the first of next month, I'd have been out of prison 10 years. Following month after that, y'all willing, would have been in the word for 10 years. And this has been it's been like you talking about looking at something, because I would ask this last night, like, it wasn't even that long of a transition over to serving Yah from what I was doing previously, because I was just fully committed to it. I think Yah for giving me the mind for that, because that's the only way that would have even been remotely possible in any shape, form, or fashion. But then when you begin to go in depth with the word and you begin to understand his goodness and his grace and his mercy and his power, it begins to be a desire of not just, I don't want to be condemned, but that I have an overwhelming desire to receive a reward. Just like what we was talking about a few weeks ago. Like, I have an earnest expectation of resurrecting from the dead. But I feel the same way that Paul feels. I have not apprehended. I don't walk around and be like, oh, I made it. There's no room for improvement. I'm telling you right now, if you walk around in this life with the word first and then any other area of life, and you don't feel like you got to improve, you's a hypocrite. Because you know you around here ain't doing what you're supposed to do. That's a level of pride and arrogance that is just utterly distasteful. You know what I'm saying? Because as long as there's breath in your lungs, you have the ability to improve yourself in any area of your life and whatever you participate in or engaged in. If you don't feel like that you can improve, that means you don't have the desire to improve, or you're totally contrary to what it is that you say that you're a part of. You know what I'm saying? I've been doing this almost a decade, and I know that there's areas where you could be better, and you must be better. It's just it. But that comes from self-awareness and the desire to look at yourself and the desire to improve. That's the difference between average and greatness, is the desire to improve, and never resting on your laurels and becoming complacent that you feel like you've achieved a level of success and there's nothing else that you can do. You can't do that. That's a recipe for disaster. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Don't cook that meal. Nevertheless, John 7:37. In the last day, that great day of the feast, Yahushua stood and cried, saying, if any man thirst, let him come to me and drink. He that believe on me, as the scripture hath said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. But this spake he of the Ruach, which they that believe on him should receive. For the Ruach HaKadosh was not yet given, because Yahushua was not yet esteemed. So he wasn't esteemed. Now let's go to something, right? And I'm going to show, because what I'm showing you right now, that's what you read in Genesis chapter 2. No cap. Genesis chapter 2, right? It said that the Ruach wasn't given because Yahushua had not been esteemed. Let's see if the law bear witness to this. Genesis 2 and what? 2 and 6. Say he didn't cause it to rain on the earth, and there was no man to till or labor the ground. Remember, the field is the good seed, so there wasn't no man to work it. That's why the field is for the profit of man, or for the profit of the king. Because when you look at a field and you plant the seeds and you till that ground and you work that ground and you labor that ground, and when we put it in the construct of the word, the seed is the word. The Son of Man sowed that seed. That's what he said in Matthew 13. He said in John 4 that I've sent you into other man's labors to reap a harvest. So that means the people who preaching the word are actually tilling the ground as representative or ambassadors, as Paul stated in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, about verse 18 or 19, of Hamashiach. They're laboring that ground to take care of that seed so the fruit could be produced, which is those who have received that word, heard it, understood it, and did it, and they bring forth fruit. Meaning that the patience, the meekness, the gentleness, the goodness, the faith, the joy, the love, the loving kindness, the self-control is manifested, that byproduct that seed or that word is in those individuals. And this is how we know that these are the children of the are those who are of the good seed that was sowed by the Son of Man. So when you see this here, all these things are pointing to the gospel in the beginning. He's showing you the works of faith from the jump street for those who have an ear. Nevertheless, verse 6, right? He said, but there went up a mist from their rats and watered the whole face of the ground. Now, the word for ground is Adamah. Y'all know that. Well, everyone knows that, but some of you know that. That word for mist is Ed. Aleph and Dalet. It's not the strength of the door. It's the strength of the hanging, or the strength of that sacrifice. That's the mist that's coming about the ground. Let's take a look at it. Let's just take a look. I did one on John 11 and 25. Then from John 11 and 25, I guess I'll go 1 Corinthians 15. Then from 1 Corinthians 15, we'll look at one of the, maybe John 20. Yeah, John 20 works for me, man. John 11, 25. Make it 23. John 11, 23. You know, praise Yah for the word, first and foremost. Yahushua said unto her, your brother shall rise again. Martha said unto him, I know that he shall rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Yahushua said unto her, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believe in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And whosoever live and believe in me shall never die. Believe you this. Now, I want y'all to keep that in mind about that statement that if you believe in him, though you were dead, you shall live. Because you dead in your trespasses and sins. But yet you gonna live. You've been quickened. And it's a gift of grace. So come over here, Bert. I said 1 Corinthians 15. I think we might take a look at something in Acts 24 too. Let me see. Come over here to Acts 24 real quick. Acts chapter 24, right? 24 and 10. Acts 24 and 10. Then Paul, after the governor had beckoned unto him to speak, answered, For as much as I know that you have been many years a judge unto this nation, I do the more cheerfully answer for myself. Because that you may understand that there are yet but 12 days since I went up to Jerusalem for the worship. And they neither found me in the temple disputing with any man, neither raising up the people, neither in the synagogues nor in the city. Neither can they prove the things whereof they now accuse me. But this I confess unto you, that after the way which they call heresy, so worship I the Alahym of my Abbas, believing all things that are which are written in Torah and in the prophets. So you need to keep that in mind. When you dealing with the gospel, niggas gonna say you speaking of heresy. He say, hey man, that's how I worship the God of my father. I don't know what you talking about. But look what he said, right? He said, I believe everything written in the law and prophets. Do you? This Paul testimony. Understand this now. This Paul testimony. But do you believe everything that's written in the law and the prophets? Do you believe everything that's written in it? That's the difference of eating from the tree of life and eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. A lot of brews right now are still eating from the knowledge of the tree of good and evil and have not partook of the tree of life. Don't even have a desire to partake. That's the worst part. Don't even have a desire. He said, and have hope towards Alahym, which they themselves also allow, that there should be a resurrection of the dead, both of the just and the unjust. And herein do I exercise myself to have always a conscience void of offense towards Alahym and man. He said let it be known. He got hope towards Alahym that there's going to be a resurrection of the dead. That's his hope. See, this man here is eating from the tree of life. Understand and know the difference. Now let's see where, right? I mentioned 1 Corinthians 15. Pause. Take me to Galatians. Come over here to Galatians. Just take a trip over there. Just take a trip over there. Galatians 5. Don't even worry about 1 Corinthians 15 yet. Just look at Galatians 5. We give you some understanding on this here, right? And swing right back over here and just go ahead and jump off in these trees, man. Let's just go ahead and jump off in these trees, man. Because I don't want nobody to think we just talking. You know, I like to set stuff up. Sometimes I just come right into your chin like Mike Tyson. Don't knock it on out in the first round. So we just going to go ahead and just start throwing them haymakers. Look at what he say, right? Galatians 5:1. He says, stand fast, therefore, in the freedom wherewith Mashiach hath made us free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage. So pause. When he telling you this, I jump with tripping to damn, man. I jump with tripping to damn, man. Tripping hard. So, this is Isaiah 61:1. The Ruach of Yahuwah Alahym is upon me, because Yahuwah have anointed me to preach good tidings. Oh, I didn't skip the whole thing. The Ruach of Yahuwah Alahym is upon me, because Yahuwah have anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. So there's your liberty, your freedom to the captives. He's come to set you free. What are you captive of? What are you in bondage of? Let's take a look to John 8:30. Make it 8 and 28. Then said Yahushua unto them, when you have lifted up the Son of Man, then you shall know that I am he, and that I do nothing of myself, but as my Abba have taught me, praise Yahuwah and Yahushua indeed, I speak these things. And he that sent me is with me, and Abba have not left me alone, for I do always those things that please him. And as he spake these words, many believed on him. Then said Yahushua to those Yahudim, which believed on him, if you continue in my word, then you are my disciples indeed, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Now pause. I'm away. Verse 33. They answered him, we be Abraham's seed. We were never in bondage to any man. How say you, you shall be made free? Yahushua answered, truly, truly, I say unto you, whosoever commits sin is the servant of sin. The servant abide not in the house forever, but the Son abide forever. If the Son therefore shall make you free, you shall be free indeed. Now hold on. Now in the past, we done used that in regards of tying that in to Ishmael and Isaac, and that's accurate. But tonight, I don't recall, I don't believe, my memory served me correctly, I don't believe we've used this example before, but we're going to use it tonight. But I want you to come to Romans chapter 8, right? Because he said the Son will make you free. Remember what Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians chapter 3, that where the Ruach of Hamashiach is, there's freedom, there's liberty. He said whoever commits sin, they the servant to sin. He said don't get entangled in that bondage now. Let's see. We're going to see that. We're going to take that to the law, man. But first, let's go to Romans 8, right? Because I got to tie this to the law, too. That's why I say I was going to go somewhere. Then I say I'm going to wait. Because I'm going to tie this with the law, too. It was Romans 8 and 1. I thank y'all for the word. He said, there is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Yahushua HaMashiach, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Ruach. For the Torah of the Ruach of life and Yahushua HaMashiach have made me free from the Torah of sin and death. For what Torah could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, Alahym sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin, condemned sin in the flesh. What can this mean along with John chapter 8? Let's go ahead and take a look. Let's take ourselves back to Genesis. We already had dropped a little bit about them trees on Wednesday. Most High willing, if you didn't check it out then, you're going to have to check it out later. Because some of that stuff we're not going to rehash. But I want you to come on back over here where we want to take it to. What we got? That what we need to do? Let me see what I need to do. Come to Genesis 2 and 15 for the moment and make sure I got everything I wanted to get. Genesis 2 and 15. I think we read that, but I'll read some of this stuff over again. I guess I'll give you a brief synopsis. Yahuwah Alahym took the man and put him into the garden to eat and to dress it and to keep it. Remember the word for garden is gone, gamal and noon, the way of life. Dress, to dress it, is a bar, which is the work, serve, or labor, ayin, bat, and dalit. So you get to know the son's sacrifice. That's his service. That's his work. See, pause so you can understand that. Come over here to John chapter 6 and verse 26. So if the word to dress the garden is to do the work or to serve or to labor, and it's ayin, bat, and dalit, then you understand you get to know the son's sacrifice. This is what you get to know from his work. Look what he told you in John 6 and 26. John 6 and 26. Hallelujah for Yahushua and the word, for righteousness, for faith, for the opportunity of salvation. Because you know Passover coming. It's near. Ain't too far away. Yahushua answered them and said, truly, truly, I say unto you, you seek me not because you saw the miracles, but because you did eat of the loaves and were filled. Labor not for the meat which perished. See, that's what ended up happening in the garden. See, they labored for the meat that perished. See, they took the knowledge of the tree of good and evil. See, they labor for the meat that perished. See, a lot of y'all out here laboring for meat that perished. Don't make no sense. He say, but for the meat which endure unto everlasting life, which the Son of Man shall give unto you, for him have Alahym Abba seal. You need to be laboring for that. He said, then they said unto him, what shall we do that we might work the works of Alahym? Yahushua answered and said unto them, this is the work of Alahym, that you believe on him whom he hath sent. And if you believe on him whom he hath sent, which is the work of Alahym, which you would do to be guarding the garden, and the garden is the messenger of life, then you would know the Son's sacrifice. Therefore, you would be working the works of Alahym, because you would believe on the man whom he hath sent, because you would have seen the testimony of his sacrifice through the scriptures, believing all the things that are written in the law and the prophets, as Paul stated, and you would have a hope for the resurrection of the dead, which means you would be taking hold of the tree of life, because there would be no condemnation. See, you got to understand something, and we're going to look at it. I'm giving it a little early. If they would have ate from the tree of life, they wouldn't have been condemned. What? How could they have been condemned? There's no condemnation in Yahushua HaMashiach. There's no condemnation if they would have ate from the tree of life. Did you not realize that he didn't tell them not to eat from that? There was no condemnation in that. But he said, if you eat from that knowledge of that tree of good and evil, I got to condemn you, because that tree is the knowledge of sin. And whosoever commits sin, they shall die. So there was condemnation in that, because in Torah, it's the knowledge of sin. You going to be condemned. What you going to see? What you going to see? And that's still going on to this day. Anytime you see individuals always pushing the Torah above faith, they still eating from the knowledge of the tree of good and evil. And they still being condemned. They not going to be able to, you always going to be condemned with that. And we already told y'all this on Wednesday. That the law is not for a righteous man. It's for sinners. They were not sinners. That's why he told them, don't eat from it. You're not a sinner. Why would you need to know this? That's not for you. It's there, but you don't be worried about that. But just like black people, we was worried about that. We were worried about that. We had to know. 1 Peter chapter 1. See, we had to know. We couldn't leave well enough alone. It don't pay to be stubborn. You know, it can be paid to be stubborn, to stick to your values and not compromise them, but it don't pay to be stubborn when somebody telling you something for your own profit and you just want to do it anyway. It don't pay to do that. It ain't going to end good for you. Where is it at that I want, man? There you go. We pick this up at verse 18. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 18. You know what? I'm going to save that. For as much as you know that you were not redeemed with corruptible things as silver and gold from your vain conduct received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Hamashiach, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot, who truly was foreordained before the foundation of the world, as we've already seen, but was manifest in these last times for you, who by him do believe in Alahym, that raised him up from the dead and gave him esteem, that your faith and hope might be in Alahym. See, that was the whole purpose of his sacrifice, that your belief and hope might be in God. See, a lot of our faith and hope is in ourselves. See, we have faith in carnal things and fleshly things. See, you don't have faith in Alahym because you can't see him. That's your problem. See, your problem, you have a lot of people, and I seen a brother say this the other day, you know what is sad? That people boast about having certain character traits that should be standard. I'm honest. I'm trustworthy. I'm loyal. Nigga, you should be. That's not nothing to boast about. That's what you ought to do. You know what I'm saying? Standard codes of conduct that are so minimal in the world that you're lifted up on a pedestal for just having good character. Now, just imagine how people be quick to run. When you notice a lot of people who boast about having godly character, the only thing these niggas ever talk about is they don't eat pork and they keep the Sabbath. How shameful is that? That's not godly character. You're just performing religious rituals. It's what you're doing. Because you don't have no faith and mercy and judgment, which will allow you the things that it said Yahuwah delight in, as we read a couple weeks back. You know what I'm saying? People are full of hypocrisy, grudge holding, vainness. You know what I'm saying? Pride, malice, covenant breakers. lovers of those who are evil. You know what I'm saying? How can you say you a lover of good and you love those that are evil? That don't make sense. That's just, Lord have mercy on this people. Come on back to Genesis, man. I get frustrated a lot. Sometimes it come out, sometimes it don't. And I ain't frustrated at the world because they're none of my concern. You know what I'm saying? I get frustrated at our people who claim that they want this salvation and believe in this man so much and then carry themselves in such a contradictory way of the very thing that they say they desire. And I just don't understand. You know what I mean? I just don't understand. Like, you got to fully commit. You niggas more committed to your spouse than you is to your God. How shameful is that? How shameful is that? Your commitment to your God should be so strong that your commitment to your spouse would be second nature. Because you would be manifesting the love of your God to your spouse. But you niggas so carnal, you want to model yourself after sinners. Big dummy. How you say you spiritual and want to model yourself after a sinner? How stupid is that? That don't mean you can't glean things from people who are outside the way. But when you look at a sinner and say, I want to be like him, you just told me you want to be like the devil. That's what you just told me. That's what you just told me. See, I was going to ask you that in person. I can't even hold it. I don't even care. Not that I don't care. I don't even have a desire to ask the question to get the answer. You know what I'm saying? If you model yourself after somebody contrary to the word and say this is who you want to be like, you just told me you want to be like the devil. That's all I heard. That's all I heard. I want to be like Satan. I'm an adversary of the righteousness and an enemy of the cross. That's what I heard. Because I see everything you do got to be lined up with this text. Everything that you see, the word should be the first thing come to your mind, how you process it and judge it. And it should be second nature, not nothing to think about, nothing you got to pause on. When you got to pause and you got to think and you say this is what you live and this is what you about and this is what you believe, you need to check the seriousness of your confession. Because you could be around here pussyfooting around, if you will. We get late in the game, man. Every day you're getting later and later in the game. And when these things start beginning to come to pass in you, who was timing? When the great temptation, see, pause. Come over here to this Revelation chapter 3. I'm submitting it for your reason. Because we're trying to get your minds and heart prepared. Because when this stuff get ugly, I could be dead. I might not be the one to be able to tell you. It might not be somebody around you who done been able to tell you. Yes, sir, pump faking all day long. You know what I'm saying? And your heart might be hard when them two witnesses is popping. And other men is out here popping. Remember this man said, I done told you before. You getting prepared to be able to stand and fight in the day of battle, and you wasting it. Boy, I say, man, I used to thank Yahuwah daily. Still do, truth be told. For the opportunity to know and understand that I will be able to understand things as they unfold. Because I know his will. And I judge things according to his word. Not my personal opinion. Not by my emotions. Not by popular opinion. Do you not realize when you really steadfast with the word, it shrinks the people who you're around? It shrinks your friends. It shrinks your family. And I'm talking about even people who are in the word. People don't really want to deal with you. You know what I'm saying? I was talking about that earlier too. Like, you sit back and look at it, right? Because we were having this conversation last night. I was being asked certain things like this here. It's like, nah. Like, because it's funny to me. Like, you hear a woman say, I can't raise no grown man. But then expect a man to bring along and help a woman grow if he's already fully mature. Like, he has to take on that undertaking, but a woman say she won't take on that undertaking because that's not her job. Why is this man's job to bring this woman along? But I'm of the mind frame of if a woman is slacking, you don't have to be with her to help her come up. You don't have to be her man for that. You know what I'm saying? But at the same token, at the space where I'm at in my physical existence, I need a spiritual and intellectual equal, meaning someone who I share the same ideas and values with, that we have those things in common, that we see the word the same way, that our faith is the same, that our desire for salvation is the same. I don't need nobody wishy-washy. You know what I'm saying? Teetering on the edge. That's not profitable for me. I'm too grown spiritually for that. You know what I'm saying? 7, 8 years ago, yeah, 5, 6 years ago, yeah. No, not now. No. That's not possible. That's going to be detrimental. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be detrimental. I can see that. And I know that firsthand. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember that, how your mama wasn't really with it. But praise be to Yah. She got with it before she left here. And that's comforting. You know what I'm saying? So, but and it's for real though, that drought gonna come. He already told you you're gonna be running to and fro looking for the word. I'll read it to you. I ain't gonna tell you about it. I'm gonna just read it to you. I'm gonna get the Revelation 3 and 10 to you first though. He said, because you have kept the word of my patience, I will also keep you. See this here? Because you kept the word of his patience. He said he'll keep you from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. That's all I'm trying to get you right. That at the bare minimum, that if he don't keep you from that hour, you'll be able to stand that temptation. You know, all your forefathers couldn't stand them temptations in the wilderness. All of them couldn't stand it. Some of them failed. A lot of them failed. Man, I'm trying to tell you, man. I just want y'all to save your soul. That's my desire. I don't desire nothing other than that. What's more important than that? Amos 5. It's Amos 8, my bad. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, man. You hear me? I've been to you that deal. I can't marry no sinner. I can't marry no faithless woman. That's just, I'm not going to do. I might as well just go ahead and go and hit the block. And then after I hit the block, go to the corner store, get me one of them roses and some Brillo and smoke some crack. Because I done lost my mind. I have surely lost my mind. Amos 8 and 11. Oh, no, see that's here. I want you to understand this here, Marquise. Don't even have it in your mind you're going to fall. Don't even think like that. Ain't no falling. Don't think that you're going to lose. Ain't no falling, man. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no falling. I ain't falling. I'm standing tall. I'm standing on the word till my last breath. That's how you got to think. That's how Yahushua thinks. That's how all us got to think. Don't put in your mind that you're going to fail. Because you're leaving the room for that to happen. We will not fail. We will not lose. You got Yah on your side. How can you lose? You understand what I'm saying? You got Yah on your side. How can you lose? It's impossible. It's impossible. Amos 8 and 11. Behold, the days come, saith Yahuwah Alahym, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor of thirst of water, but for the hearing of the words of Yahuwah. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east, and they shall run to and fro to seek the word of Yahuwah, and shall not find it. And in that day shall the fair virgins and young men faint for thirst. Woo! He said, you're going to look for it, you ain't going to find it. You got to wrap that thing up in your heart now. You're going to look for it. You ain't going to be able to find it. But see, that's where complacency come in at. Because see, you comfortable. That's why he put people through tribulations and sufferings. So you don't get comfortable. Because niggas get comfortable. But come on back, man. Let me reconcile this stuff I'm talking about in John 8 and Romans 8. I'd be remiss if I didn't. Let's take it back, man. Let's get a clear picture. You know what I'm saying? Clear picture. Right? Now that word for keep is shamar. Y'all know about that, right? Shan, Meme, and Rock, but that's the keep. That's the word. That's the hear. Keep that word. You're going to do that word, you'll keep that word. All that is here, though, that have the faith in Yahushua and keep the commandments of Alahym. See, when you see him to dress that garden or the dressing to keep it, you see the faith and the obedience. It's right there in your face. Verse 16. Yahuwah Alahym commanded a man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat. But the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you shall not eat of it, for in the day that you eat thereof, you shall surely die. So he told him, you eat of this tree, you're going to die, right? Let's swing over here to Genesis chapter 3, and let's start looking at the difference. Because you already see, once he told him that, you eat of that tree, you're going to be condemned. But there ain't no condemnation in that tree of life, not none whatsoever. Now, the word for life, if you don't know, is ka, a ka. You got ka and yod. That's that separated work. You know what I'm saying? When you live the life of Yahuwah, and then of course the word for tree is etz, and that's ayin and sod, and that's to know the way. So when you see that, you know the way of separated work. We've already seen what that separated work is. That's the sacrifice of Yahushua. Now, when you sit back and you look at the knowledge, you know that's da, and evil is ra, and then good is tu. So, and we'll deal with some of that there, man. But matter of fact, since I'm mentioning and I mentioned those things, I want you to come to Isaiah 45 and probably about verse 4. After Isaiah 45 and 4, you can get you Lamentations of Jeremiah, 3rd chapter. Come here, little baby. Not yet. Y'all need to get somewhere and sit down because you're making too much noise. You're being disrespectful. Isaiah 45 and 4. For Jacob my servant's sake and Yasharal my elect, I have even called you by your name. I have surnamed you, though you have not known me. I am Yahuwah. There is none else. There's no Alahym beside me. I girded thee, though you have not known me. That they may know me from the rising of the sun from the west. That there is none beside me. I am Yahuwah. There is none else. I form the light and create darkness. I make shalom and create evil. I, Yahuwah, do all these things. A lot of people mention that, right? He say he do all that. Now I want you to think about this word for form. It's yetzar. It means the form or the fashion. Yod, Sod, Aleph, and Rosh. Now we're going to come look at a word in Lamentations of Jeremiah. Same exact word. Only difference is it don't have a Rosh on it. So come to Lamentations of Jeremiah 3 and 38. Because he said he create light and he create evil. You know what I'm saying? This is the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Pause. Because I want you to see that there. Because I want to show you something with the law first. Proverbs 6 and 23. We'll get 2 witnesses for it. And then I want to say Psalms 27. Proverbs 6 and 23. Let's see, right? Let's see what it says. For the commandment is a lamp, and the Torah is light, and the reproofs of instruction are the way of life. So we got a witness to say the law is life. We know from Romans 7, Paul say the law is good. So hold on now. Let's go to Psalm 27 if I'm not mistaken. If it ain't Psalm 27, we'll use Psalms 119 for the second witness. Yeah, we got to use Psalms 119 for the second witness. Let me see where is it. I can't recall. There's so many verses in Psalms 119. Psalms 119, what it is? That's not what I want, man. No, I can't recall. I know he's saying somewhere here in Psalms 119, he tell you the law is light. Escapes my mind at this present time of the exact number of the verse. So we're not going to spend too much time searching for that at this present time. We're just going to move on. But the point of the matter was to show you that that light that he create, you can sit back and say, hey, that's the law. When he say, hey, I create light and evil. Because it's the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The law is light. The law is good. What is evil? And let's look at an example of the law being the knowledge of good and evil. Let's look at an example of that. Let's go into some things in the law. And let's look at some things in the law that are good. And then we'll look at some things in the law that are evil. And let's look at Exodus 23. We'll give 2 witnesses out of the law of things that are evil and 2 things out of the law of things that are good. Let's do that. So you can see truly how the law is the knowledge of good and evil. Let's look at Exodus 23 and 1. It says, you shall not raise a false report. Put not your hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. That is evil, to lie on someone and to be an unrighteous witness. He said, do not follow a multitude to do evil. Neither shall you speak in a cause to decline many to wrest judgment. Neither shall you countenance a poor man in his cause. If you meet a man, your enemy's ox or his ass going astray, you shall bring it back to him again. If you see the ass of him that hate you lying under his burden and would forbear to help him, you shall surely help with him. You shall not wrest the judgment of the poor in his cause. Keep you far from a false matter, and the innocent and righteous. No, we already read that. Righteous slay you not. I will not justify the wicked. All of these things that you just mentioned, that he just mentioned, that's the knowledge of evil. He's telling you that's evil. Don't do that. So the minute you do that, you condemn. Let's look at something in Leviticus just because of the days and times we live in. And I'm picking this Leviticus 20 for one reason and one reason alone. Because I've seen a whole bunch of people going in because of that Kodak Black say he want to have sex with a lesbian. Then they say this nigga got to be gay because he want to have sex with a lesbian. Now it's bad enough. All right, it's bad enough that a nigga's a lesbian and this nigga's a whoremonger. But that shows you the state of the world that we live in. That nigga be like, boy, you gay if you desire to have sex with a woman who's masquerading as a man, irregardless of the fact that this is still a woman. That's how sad of a world you live in. And that's really a discussion, and people are having heated arguments about it. Like, if you are a fully mature individual, you would look at that and your heart would break with sadness. With sadness. Because it's not white people arguing about this. This your people arguing about this. Oh, this nigga gay. She look like a man. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of all the fact, it don't even bother you that she's a bulldog and he's a whoremonger, among other things. And that your children are watching this. You know what I'm saying? And guess what they're going to be doing? Programmed to do the same thing. Programmed to do the same thing. Because black people think it's not a big deal to let the kids listen to this or watch that, not realizing your people did it, and then look at your actions and your thought processes and what you got to break based off the programming you receive, and you're going to turn around and do the same thing. Yeah, I appreciate you. Stanley just put it up there. Leviticus chapter 20. About verse 14. Well, make it about verse 12. Well, I ain't going to read all of them. We'll start at 9. For everyone that curses his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. He that curses his father and mother, his blood shall be upon him. And the man that commit adultery with another man's wife, even he commit adultery with his neighbor's wife. The adulterer and the adulteress shall be put to death. See, you would have known what adultery was if without the law, you would have had no idea what that was. Guess what? And you know how we know this here? Go ask your children right now, what is adultery? They don't know. They have no idea. What may I do for you, little baby? That's what I may do for you? You're a strange baby. You're a strange baby. You're a strange baby. It's time for you to depart. It's time for you to depart. He said, the man that lay with his father's wife have covered his father's nakedness. Both of them shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. If a man lie with his daughter-in-law, both of them surely shall be put to death. For they've wrought confusion, their blood shall be upon them. If a man also lie with mankind as he lie with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. And if a man take a wife and her mother, it is wickedness. They shall be burnt with fire, both he and they, that there be no wickedness among. And you know what the crazy part is? People out here sleeping with mothers and daughters. It's people out here living like that. It's people who brag about it. It's people who say, boy, I'd knock your mama down. And you hear that junk, that's funny. That's wickedness. That's wickedness. He said, if a man lie with a beast, he shall surely be put to death, and you shall slay the beast. If a woman approach unto any beast and lie down there too, you shall kill the woman and the beast. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. If a man shall take his sister, his father's daughter, or his mother's daughter, and see her nakedness, and she see his nakedness, it is a wicked thing. They shall be cut off in the sight of their people. And he have uncovered his sister's nakedness, he shall bear his iniquity. If a man shall lie with a woman, you know what? There's something that came to my mind for that. And I was going to keep going. But I'm going to go and give it to you now. If you turn around and you look at this as it pertains to the gospel, and you see if a man shall take his sister, his father's daughter, which would be Yah, and that would be Yasharal, or his mother's daughter, which would be Jerusalem, and Yasharal again, and see her nakedness, and she see his nakedness. He saw her nakedness because she seen her transgressions. He seen her transgressions. They seen his nakedness because he was exposed on the stake, and it was a wicked thing, and he was cut off in the sight of the people because he uncovered his sister's nakedness, and he bared that iniquity. It's another reason why you see him bearing that tree, or carrying that stake or cross, if you will. But nevertheless, if a man shall lie with a woman having her sickness and shall uncover her nakedness, he have discovered her fountain. She have uncovered the fountain of her blood, and both of them shall be cut off from among their people. And how many times you hear niggas around here talking about it? I run red lights, joke about it, laugh about it. This is an abomination. Besides the fact that even if you wasn't in no word, that's just utterly disgusting. Oh, praise the Lamb. Praise the Lamb. Let's look at some of the good things in the law, man. Let's come over here to Deuteronomy. Let's look at Deuteronomy. What's what I want to use in Deuteronomy, man? Deuteronomy 14. Do I want Deuteronomy 14? Let's just go ahead to Leviticus 25. That's what I had in my mind the first time, and that's what I should have did. Leviticus 25 and 35. Let's keep it brief so we can roll on out. Say, if your brother be fallen, waxen poor, and fallen in decay with you, then you shall relieve him. Yea, though he be a stranger or sojourn, that he may live with you. Take no usry of him, or increase, but fear your Alahym, that your brother may live with you. Thou shalt not give him your money upon usry, nor live. Even still with that, that's still the knowledge of evil, because he's letting you know you wrong if you do that. When you really, basically, when you see the knowledge of good it's good if you abstain from doing these things, because a lot of the things in there he's telling you not to do is evil. So by product of not doing it, it's good. This is how it's a knowledge of good and evil. You would not have known good and evil without law. You got to understand something. Adam did not know good and evil. This is why he told him not to eat it. You remember, we read this on Wednesday. I made you upright. You were already morally, you were already without blemish. You didn't need no knowledge of this. You're a righteous man. What you need law for. This is why the book tells you that a spiritual man is judged by no man, and he can judge all things. That's why I say that. That's why I say he that is born of Alahym do not commit sin. His seed remain in him. He cannot sin because he's born of Alahym. That's why he say he had no need that any man teach him. That's what that mean in Jeremiah when he say ain't no man going to be worried about teach know Yah, because they all know Yah. When you got the Ruach, don't nobody need to tell you or teach you anything. And you don't need the law because you are righteous. Nobody don't need to tell you don't break the Shabbat, don't commit adultery. adultery, don't lie, don't steal. You already know it because the word in you. You're a righteous man. Righteous men don't need that. Only sinners need that. So when you see people always going in by the law, they telling you I'm a sinner, and that's why I'm trying to get other sinners. And how can a sinner save a sinner? Two crackheads can't save each other. Somebody got to stop smoking crack. Two whores can't save each other. Somebody got to close their legs and zip up their pants. Somebody has to show a different way. You can't deliver people out of a condition that you're in. And we believe sinners can save sinners. And wonder why we can't get out this rut. Or you feel like everybody's supposed to believe the word. Everybody ain't supposed to believe the word. Who told you that? Y'all ain't never told you that. That's your own foolish pride that done told you that. This word ain't for everybody. Why do you think this man kept talking about he that have ears to hear, let him hear? This word is not for everybody. Everybody don't have an ear for it. Accept that and move on with your life. You know what I'm saying? But come on back to Genesis, man. I'm sorry, Lamentations 3 and 38. We still my whole point of this evening is to reconcile John chapter 8, Romans chapter 8, and Galatians chapter 5. Somebody, you ain't lying, Trina. Somebody got to be the fuel for the fire. Somebody got to be a vessel made for destruction that his power might be made known. Just like somebody got to be a vessel of mercy that his goodness might be made known. Somebody got to be it. Shoot, make sure you a vessel of mercy. That's all I can tell you. If you got good sense. Now, if you ain't got good sense, you know, ain't nothing we can do to help you. Shoot, you can't even help yourself. Gotta take this thing serious, man. It's your whole life. Some of you niggas took your schooling more serious than you take the word. Ain't that sad? Some of you niggas take your job more serious than you take the word. Some of y'all take your fun time more serious than you take the word. That's sad. That's sad. And it's unacceptable. Lamentations 3 and 35, I surmise. Make it 33. Matter of fact, 31, because I just feel like reading that part. Lamentations chapter 3 and verse 31. For Yahuwah will not cast off forever. He surely won't. But though he cause grief, yet will he have compassion according to the multitude of his mercies. For he do not afflict willingly, nor grieve the children of men, to crush under his feet all the prisoners of the earth, to turn aside the right of a man before the face of the Most High. Oh, okay, I know what that is. To subvert a man in his cause, Yahuwah approve not. Who is he that say, and it come to pass, when Yahuwah commanded not? Understand that. Who can bring something to pass if Yah ain't said it? He said, out of the mouth of the Most High proceed not evil and good. He said, wherefore do a living man complain? A man for the punishment of his sins? Let us search and try our ways. Let us search and try our ways and turn again to Yahuwah. Let us lift up our heart with our hands unto Alahym and Shamahim. We have transgressed and rebelled, and you have not pardoned. You have covered with anger and persecuted us. You have slain and have not pitied. You covered yourself with a cloud that our prayer should not pass through. Now, of course, y'all know what that is. That's when he made it go dark. I stopped and went a little bit further, but I just wanted you to understand his mercies. But look at what he said, right? Out of the mouth or out of the pay of the Most High, evil and good. You got the Ra and Tob again. Same thing with the knowledge of tree of good and evil. He's sitting here telling you this. This stuff proceed from him. But then let's just look at the thing, right? When you look at proceed, that word is yasah. It means to go, to come out, or deliver. Same word that you've seen in Isaiah 45 and 7 for form, the Yetzar. Only difference is ain't no Rosh on it. So when you look at this proceed and you got Yod, Sod, and Aleph, you see the strength of the right hand, or the strength of the way of the right hand, or the strength of the way of the sun. This is what's coming out. Because ain't no condemnation in this man. And then when you put that Rosh on there, and now you can see you add the highest in it. Now you done added the Father in this here. But then also we look at another thing. We look at the word for complain. And it means to complain or murmur. And it's an Aleph and two noons. And it's the strength of the seed. Because there ain't no sense of the doubling up. Same thing. And then with sins, why does a living man complain for the punishment of his sins? It's the word, it's the character cod. Separate. What causes you to be separated from the Most High? This is why you seen the Mashiach. He said, why are you complaining for punishment of your sins? Don't you know out of the mouth of me proceed evil and good? He on it, my Alahym, my Alahym, why have you forsaken me? Why are you complaining for the punishment of your sins? See, he said, my arm is not too short that I cannot save, nor is my ear heavy that I cannot hear. It's your sins that have separated you from your Alahym. You had a Mashiach up there on that tree complaining because you wanted to partake of the wrong tree, because you didn't believe. See, it's like this here, right? We thinking we going to get salvation through the works of the law and not through the working of faith. So we get entangled in bondage. What is the entanglement that we get entangled with? It's your sins. This is what's getting you separated. And you want to go back. See, when you get justified by faith, like you say, you don't need a righteous man. The law's in you, so you don't need it. Niggas going back to get entangled because now you got knowledge of evil. You out here committing it, and now you got to get baptized again, put this man to an open shame. Hebrews chapter 5. My apologies. Hebrews 6. 6 and 1, if you will. Silence. Silence. Cry on the inside. On the inside. Yeah, cry on the inside. Therefore, leaving the principles of the doctrine of a Mashiach, this is Hebrews 6 and 1. Let us go unto perfection, not laying again the foundation of repentance from dead works and faith towards Alahym, of the doctrine of immersions and of the laying of on of hands, of the resurrection of the dead and eternal judgment. And this we will do if Alahym permit. For it is impossible for those who were once enlightened, having tasted of the gift of Shamahim, and were made partakers of the Ruach HaKadosh, and have tasted the good word of Alahym and the powers of the world to come, if they shall fall away, to renew them again unto repentance, seeing they crucified to themselves the son of Alahym afresh, and have put him to an open shame. And that's what ends up happening when you get entangled back into bondage. It's not that the law is bondage. You've fallen away to repentance because you still have the knowledge of evil. Remember what we read a while back? He said to be simple to evil, to be dumb to it. Don't have no knowledge of it. He said in Jeremiah, he said, this people is wise to do evil, but to good, they have no knowledge. You ain't got no knowledge to do no evil, to do good, but you full of knowledge of how to do evil. And it's unacceptable. Let's come on back to Genesis chapter 3, though. So I want you to see that when in the Lamentations and in the Isaiah, how he letting you know that he had the knowledge of good and evil from the jump that come from him. He never wanted you to partake in that because he didn't fashion you for that purpose. But you just had to know. You just had to know. Matter of fact, let's go to Galatians 5 and wrap that up. So we ain't holding that no more.
Close your mouth and go to sleep.
Galatians 5 and 1. Stand fast, therefore, in the freedom wherewith Mashiach have made us free, and be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage. See, he's made you free from sin. Not free from the law, free from sin. See, you got to understand something. When you're dealing with the law, you have to deal with the consequence that come from the law, which is death. Life don't come from the law. Regardless of what anybody want to tell you, you can't read that in front of the text. Life don't come. Well, then people say, well, he said it before them, life and death. If they would believed in him, they would have had life. So there wouldn't even came a thought process of sinning. But they didn't believe. This is why they died. Nevertheless, he said, behold, I say unto you that if you be circumcised, a Mashiach shall profit you nothing. For I testify again to every man that is circumcised that he is a debtor to do the whole Torah. Hamashiach of no effect unto you, whosoever you are justified by Torah, you are fallen from grace. For we through the Ruach, wait for the hope of righteousness by faith. For Yahushua HaMashiach neither circumcision avail anything, nor an uncircumcision, but faith which worked by love. Now let's look at this key thing, right? He said, if you circumcise, you owe to do the whole Torah. Now let's look at something and see where he get this from. Leviticus 16. Let's look and see where he get this from. You got to do the whole law. This is what he said. This is what he mentioned. He's mentioning what's in the law. The law tell you this. He also tell you this in Leviticus 18, that if a man do these things, he shall live therein. And we can grab Nehemiah for another example of it. Matter of fact, I don't want Leviticus. Let's just grab that Nehemiah. Nehemiah 9. Nehemiah 9 and 29. And he testified against them, that they might bring them again under your Torah, yet they dealt proudly, and hearkened not unto your commandments, but sinned against your judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. And withdrew the shoulder and hardened the neck, and would not hear. Now let's go to Leviticus 18, what I mentioned. It also, and we'll grab Deuteronomy 27 as well. We'll grab Deuteronomy, and I still got to grab that Psalms 119 too. Leviticus 18 and 5. In fact, we can make it 18 and 1. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Yasharal, and say unto them, I am Yahuwah your Alahym. After the doings of the land of Mizraim, wherein you dwelt, shall you not do, and after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, you shall not do. Neither shall you walk in their ordinances. You shall do my judgments and keep my ordinances to walk therein. I am Yahuwah your Alahym. You shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am Yahuwah. Now let's take a look at Deuteronomy 27. So if you do them, you live in them. If you don't do them, then you cursed, because you got to do the whole law. That's going back, when he talking about the circumcision, that's going back to Genesis 17 to be specific. Sign of the covenant, which he gave to Abraham in his flesh. 27 to 26. It said, cursed be he that confirmed not all the words of this Torah to do them. And all the people shall say amen. Now every man that walked this earth ain't kept it. So now you're entangled in bondage, because you in bondage to death. Not the law. The law wasn't got you in bondage. Your disobedience to it got you in bondage, because now you in bondage to sin. So therefore, because you in bondage to sin, you in bondage to death. This is why Mashiach came to destroy him, to have power over death, which is the devil. Because, you know, that's what a lot of Christians say. Say that law of bondage. No. That's not what he's talking about. The bondage is sin, because you have knowledge of this. You haven't been freed or liberated by faith, so to speak. Once you've been freed by the goodness of faith, there is no knowledge of sin, because you'll be walking in Yahushua HaMashiach and walking in the Ruach, and there is no condemnation for those who are in Yahushua HaMashiach. You're justified by the righteousness of faith, and the just shall live by their faith. So you would be living by Torah, because you living by your faith, as we just read what he mentioned, which worked by love. And this is why he's saying, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Grab that Psalms 119 and 105 while it's in my head. For another example, how you say the law of light, to go into what we were looking at in what you call them. Isaiah 45 and Lamentations chapter 3, verse 38. It says, thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. So you see another witness for that. We know there's plenty of places in the text that refer to sin as being darkness and evil. And we know that Alahym is all parts light and no part dark. But now we have to sit back and we have to look at something as we look at these trees. Because it's something, a part of the tree that I want to be able to go into, so you can see that it was actual teachings that they received based off the words that are used in those particular places. So let's take a stroll back to Genesis chapter 3. Because our part with the trees might be complete, but the mystery of iniquity and the mystery of Alahym are just beginning. which references back to the trees, is how we're going to do it. But the part with the trees don't last that long. But the mysteries parts, they last a bit long. It's parts where the trees are pretty cut and dry. Yeah, that's pretty cut and dry. Pretty cut and dry. Where are we at, right? Genesis chapter 3. Whatever we don't get pertaining to the trees tonight, we'll do tomorrow, y'all willing. But yeah, Genesis 3 and 1. Because what we at right now, about an hour and a half. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which Yahuwah Alahym had made. He said unto the woman, Yea, have Alahym said, You shall not eat of every tree of the garden? The woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. But the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Alahym said, You shall not eat of it, neither you touch it, lest you die. I don't recall grabbing the word for food in Genesis 2 beforehand, but it's a word that is ma'akal. It's fruit and it's meat. That's what it means. And it's meme, aleph, kaf, and lamad. And it's you see the key thing of what he said, which was for food, and you see that what which was for food has the character lamad in it, which is the character for teaching. So when we look at that, we see the leader's work teaches life or chaos, depending on what food you are consuming. Because see, if you're eating the fruit of Satan's words or his doctrines or his teachings, then you're going to die, because it's going to teach chaos. Now let's begin a little beginning of interspersing in things pertaining to the mystery of iniquity, to refresh the memories of those who have heard, and to bring to the attention of those who have not heard. Daniel chapter 11. Let's look and see how the fruit of his teachings brings chaos. Remember, it's the knowledge of good and evil. So if it's the knowledge of good and evil and you eat that for food, the evil is literally chaos, because it's sin. Now you have the knowledge of sin. Now you have the knowledge of desire to commit sin. As we mentioned, Paul said, I would have not known sin unless the law said, thou shalt not covet. Now I have the knowledge of good and evil because I know the law. If you read Romans 7, Paul giving you an inkling of what occurred in that garden and what those trees were about. Daniel 11. And I know I had mentioned something the other day about Daniel 4 Wednesday, and we ain't never read it. We'll see if Yahuwah will let us bring it back. But Daniel 11, about verse 30. Make sure I grab the right spot. And it says, For the ships of Shittim shall come against him, therefore he shall be grieved and return and have indignation against the Kadash covenant. So shall he do. He shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the Kadash covenant. Y'all can look the word up. The word for intelligence is to teach. So anyone who has abandoned the word, this man is going to sit down and teach them. So they're going to eat his food or his fruit. This is why this is one of the reasons why Yahushua told you, my flesh is meat indeed, or it's food indeed, because it's my work, which is his sacrifice, and it's going to teach you life. But if you sit down and you eat from Satan's plate, which all he was trying to do, see, all Satan was trying to do was teach you sin, because you didn't have any knowledge of it. That's all he was trying to do. It's not that the Torah is sin. It's not that the Torah is evil. It is the knowledge of sin. Now you know, once you know what sin is, you are condemned. Period. That's why some people walk around and be like, don't tell me, I don't want to know. But just like he told you, you'll perish in Torah, you'll perish without it. Because them Canaanites ain't had no Torah, and they perished without it when they came through and cleansed that land for the wickedness that they were in there doing. But when you look at that tree, it's like this here, right? Let's just put it in this perspective. None of us knew the truth of Yahuwah, period. You were living your life. You was doing what you wanted to do. You did not know that you were in condemnation. You did not know that you were in sin. You knew things that you were doing may have not been correct, but you didn't understand the dire consequences from your actions. The minute someone showed you the law, you died. Right then and there on the spot. You dead. The minute you seen that law say, no fornication, no whoremongering, no lying, breaking Shabbat, eating unclean foods, holding grudges, being malicious. You know what I'm saying? Dishonoring your parents, stealing, coveting, envious, hateful, unmerciful. You died. You were alive until that law was presented to you, and that moment you were dead. Same thing happened in the garden. He was alive until he seen that law, and then he died. And it was over. So when you turn around and you look at the food that you eat, one is either going to teach you chaos or it's going to teach you life. See, the gospel teaches you life because the gospel does not condemn. The gospel is for salvation through hope of the resurrection of Yahushua. That's why I say there's no condemnation of those that walk in him. We know Yahushua kept the law. That's neither here nor there. Some people say, but he told them in Matthew 19 to inherit eternal life, that they could keep the commandments. And then he went a step further after that when he told them that and told them to exercise some faith, and cuz wasn't with it. And then he went on to say, everybody that forsake these and come follow me, they'll get this and get that. So he went further and he brought the faith in with the law. But niggas don't like to keep reading because they just want to condemn Christians all day, which I don't even understand that. I don't even understand that. These people don't know what they doing. They ignorant. Just like a dude standing on the block. A dude on the block ain't no different than a Christian. And like I told y'all that last week, if you come in you and attacking people who don't know, because Paul wrote, well, not Paul, but whoever wrote the epistle of Hebrews, they give it to Paul, but we don't know if he wrote it or not. Say, who can have compassion on those that are ignorant and out of the way? If you know people don't know, then you're supposed to be compassionate to them. When you look at Yahushua when he came through, he was compassionate to these people because he knew they didn't know. It's only when they began, the leaders, if you will, began to buck and act stupid and act like they did know even when they didn't, is that when he went to crashing skulls. That's why I tell you that when you look at the children, you can't be that harsh with them. They don't know. You see, when you look at your children, you should have a snapshot into how y'all dealt with you when you were in your sins, when you didn't know no better, and you were being dumb and stupid. He could have killed you on the spot. He didn't do it. He had compassion on you. You know what I'm saying? And long suffering to allow you to come to the light of salvation that you might be transformed. See, you can see the spiritual things and natural things if you just pause and allow the word to take hold of you and see things from the perspective of heaven and stop looking at things on the perspective of the earth. That's why he told Nicodemus, I've told you earthly things and you have not believed. Why are you going to believe if I tell you things of heaven? That's why he say, set your affections at the things that are in heaven. Well, Mashiach said at the right hand and the things that's not on the earth. That's why I told you about, I mean, the first time a dude told me, boy, you too heavenly minded to be any earthly good. I said, that's the most dumbest thing I ever heard. At that point, then Yahushua wasn't no earthly good, you stupid ingrate. All he was heavenly minded. You sound stupid. That's stupid. If you heavenly minded, you can't be nothing but earthly good. But that's why I'm sitting there, I done told you before, that people don't like the things that, anything that's of heaven, that's Yahuwah. That's Yahushua. That's Alahym. That's the living God. And people hate that. They don't want a tree of life. They want to steady with that knowledge of good and evil and beat people across the head with it. What about our culture and our ways and our law? They don't want to talk about Yahuwah. Because like I told you before, then the work and the esteem got to be given to whom it belongs, which is the Most High Alahym. Yahuwah of hosts is his name. That's who it belongs, by way of Yahushua HaMashiach. Let them get the esteem and honor and praise. Let them be glorified in all things. And let their name be uplifted, that men might repent and believe and receive the kingdom and serve them with their whole mind, heart, and soul, and be quickened to life everlasting. But that would sound too much like mercy, goodness, and faith. Nevertheless, so when we see that this man going to be sitting around teaching people, now we have a problem. Now, we know in Revelation 14:4, it say the Alahym, who has the everlasting gospel, is going to be going around telling people to repent, and the kingdom is at hand, and believe the gospel. If you think they're going around telling people to keep the laws, you's a fool. Because the gospel is not the laws. And if any nigga say that, he's a liar and a dummy. Spiritually dumb. Dummy because he's ignoring. And I say dumb, I ain't gonna say this here. I'm saying dumb because what he said in Isaiah 28, they dumb dogs that can't bark. You can't even preach. You can't even talk. You're mute. You're dumb. Because you don't know what you're talking about. You read Isaiah 28 for yourself. You can see what I'm talking about. Come on back to this Genesis, though. I just had to mention that because I didn't believe I grabbed the word Makal, and I know I didn't grab the word Samak for grow up, as he's talking about those trees growing up, and that means grow up or sprout, but it also means speech, and it's Sod, Meme, and Kot, and that's the way of life or the way of chaos separates. So the tree of life grew up out the ground. The tree of knowledge and good and evil grew up out the ground, and one was a way of life, and one was the way of chaos, and whichever tree you partake in is what you got separated from. They partook of the knowledge of good and evil, and that's why the tree of life was separated from them. In reality, they were separated from the gift of faith. So they were separated from eternal life, which you already know this. That's why I be tripping when people be like, Adam was made to live forever. But yet the thing that could cause him to live forever was kept from him. So clearly that wasn't what he was made from. Ain't nothing made forever come out no dust, out no ground. Can't be that silly. Come on back to, but that's what people be telling us. I just seen a dude today. He was like, Lucifer is the morning star. Jesus said he's the morning star. Which one is it? And I just felt like commenting. So I say, you know what? Yahusha is Lucifer. That's a misunderstanding, a misnomer. That Satan is Lucifer. The text don't tell you that. 4 different people laughed at it. And I told them, well, whenever you're ready, we can go through this text and we can show you clear day who Lucifer is. Ain't get no takers. Ain't get no takers. Because it's funny that niggas will argue, can women wear pants and what day you keep the Sabbath and this, that, there, and the third. But don't nobody want to talk when they come to talking about let's go through this book and see if that's the law. You don't care. You don't want to have that conversation. Because you don't want the tree of life. You want the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That's what you want to argue about. Anytime, pay attention to it. When you go to talk about that gospel, don't nobody want to argue. You want to talk about that law, niggas ready to argue all day long. I tell you something right there. I ain't finna argue with you about no law. You got that, buddy. You do what you want to do. I'm not finna argue with you about that. I'm gonna stand on this gospel, though. That one thing I ain't gonna do. I ain't finna let you call the devil the Lord. Straight up and down. That's what I'm not gonna do. Not when I know better. See, that shake a lot of people to the core. How you gonna say the Lord is Lucifer? Yahusha ain't Lucifer. Why you believe that Satan is Lucifer? Why you believe that? Did you search the scriptures for that? Or did you just go for that because that's what people told you? You know what I'm saying? People told you that. Did you examine the scriptures daily to see if those things were so when they told you that Lucifer was the devil? Or did you just believe that? Well, the Illuminati follow Lucifer. Guess what? Just because they do that don't mean it's right. Who cares? See, that's my point. Because they do it, it got to be the devil. Bump them. They don't even know the text. So they couldn't explain it to you if they wanted to. Why did you believe that? I didn't have a thought process of Lucifer being the devil either way before the word, because it was never none of my concern. Nothing I thought about. I heard the statements being made. Lucifer was the angel of heaven, and he was the minister of music, and they kicked him out. And all nonsense that ain't in the book. They told us Lucifer was the devil. We believed it. Why did we believe it? Nowhere in the book does it say that Satan said he wanted to go to heaven. Nowhere in the book did he say that Satan even has a throne to exalt above the sons of Alahym. Nowhere in the book does Satan ever say he want to be like. Why would Satan want to be like the Most High and the Most High righteous and he an adversary? You ain't never thought about that? Like, pause and use critical thinking. If to be like the Most High is to be righteous, kadosh, and upright, this nigga rebelled. So why would he want to be something that is the antithesis of his own heart? But then the key point, How you know that's not the devil is he said that he was sitting in the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. And I told y'all that about a few weeks back. Go read Psalms 48. It'll tell you where the sides of the north is. And if you can show me anywhere in the text where Satan say he wanted to sit in that seat in that city, then you got something. See, I know some people say, well, the beast gonna sit up there because he trying to copy. See, he want to be like it. Say the beast gonna sit there. It never said Satan was gonna do it. Say he'll sit in there as Alahym. Satan never said out his mouth. Matter of fact, Satan don't even talk that much in the book. Let that be known. You know what I'm saying? You can count on about 5, 6 places where this man talked. We read in 1 in Genesis chapter 3 where he talked. You see where he mentioned where he say he moved David to number the people. You got the book of Job. You got when he tempted a Mashiach. And if my memory serves me correctly, that's about it. Satan ain't nowhere in the law, period, outside the book of Genesis. He ain't in Exodus. He ain't in Numbers. He ain't in Leviticus. He ain't in Deuteronomy. He ain't in the Yahushua son of Nun's book. He ain't in Ruth. He ain't in Psalms. He ain't in Proverbs. Only time he mentioned in Proverbs, in the book of Psalms, is when David prayed that if a dude turned on him, to let Satan be at his right hand. That's it. He ain't there. The word Satan is used in the book of Numbers to refer to that angel that jumped out on Balaam, because Satan means adversary. But that's not the adversary. Guess what? He ain't in the book of Isaiah. He's not in Jeremiah. He's not in Daniel. He's not in any of these places running his mouth. Oh yeah, he in one more place. He in the book of Zechariah. Say Satan standing on the side opposing Yahushua, son of Jehozadak. He ain't talking though. He ain't talking in Malachi. He ain't talking in Nahum. He ain't talking in Obadiah. He ain't talking in Jonah. He ain't talking in Lamentations. He ain't talking in Ezekiel. He ain't talking in Hosea. He ain't talking in Amos. But we would notice if we were examining the text for real and not just going for stuff because that's what people told us. Because if you knew and you did your research, you would know that the teaching that Lucifer is the devil is a European Anglo-Saxon doctrine. Period. Do the knowledge. Look it up for yourself. That's where it come from. It don't come from us. It come from Anglo-Saxons. Nevertheless, Genesis chapter 3 and verse 2. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. But the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Alahym said, you shall not eat of it, neither you touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said unto the woman, you shall not surely die. For Alahym do know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. That's why we read Isaiah 45 and Lamentations 3 to establish that point. That's why we went and did that. And make sure we got every word that we needed to grab for this particular area. And it says, and the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desired to make one wise. And she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband, and he did eat. So when we look at the word desired, it is the word kamad, and it means to desire or covet. Remember what we were talking about when Paul said in Romans 7? He said, I would have not known lust unless the law said, thou shalt not covet. She had no knowledge of lust. So when you look at that, it's Kot, Meme, and Dalet. And then see how she ended up separating herself from the life of the hanging, or separating herself from the life of the door. However you want to look at it, all she did was through her lust, she separated herself from Alahym. That's why he say, she that liveth in pleasure is dead while she lived. When we allow our desires to dictate us, that separates us from our Alahym. Because those who are in Mashiach have crucified their affections and lusts. If you were in Mashiach, you should have already nailed your desires, and they should have perished. Nevertheless, look at the next thing he says. And the eyes of them were both open, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. Now that's when we're going to start to sit back and see that truly the tree of knowledge of good and evil was the Torah. The word open. Well, first the word took. Because it said, I didn't grab that one there. Say she took of the fruit thereof. The word took is the word lakak. to take, to fetch, and hold, take hold of, and to seize. And of course, with that word, we have that lamad. Lamad, kuf, and kat. So now that's when we turn around and you look at it, that you see teaching. So when we see when she took and fetched and grabbed hold of and seized, she grabbed hold of a teaching. It was something that she was taught. And she was taught the law. And this is why she died. This does not mean that the law is evil, that the law is wrong, that the law is bad, and that the law should not be kept. But it's the knowledge of sin which brings forth death. Period. That's it. It's just that simple. It's not that deep. Individuals take, if you say things like this here, oh, he's speaking against the law. He got a problem with the law. Come on, man. We established the law. What you mean? What you mean? But we understand through understanding of the gospel what these things actually mean and what's actually being conveyed. That truly sucks. Nevertheless, so when we look at Lamar, Kuf, and Kat, we sit back and we look at how the teaching of light separates. Because now they were separated from Alahym because they were taught the law. That's why we looked at the things that referred to the law as light. But now when it says they open their eyes, it's pakak. So now, same thing. Instead of Lamar, you got pay. And of course, you know pay is mouth. So again, that speech, there was a teaching. She was taught something. They were taught something. They were taught Torah. And once they had knowledge of Torah, now they had knowledge that they were sinners. Now it said that they had that propensity. Now when you turn around and look at it, you have the word for naked, which is aron. Ayin, yad, rosh, and meen. It's the head's work, let us know chaos, because once they were naked, they knew that they had sinned. Let's see why. And then we're going to tie this nakedness in with some other things. See, he said the eyes, both of them were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. They tried to cover their sins with their own garments. See, remember in Isaiah 30 when he said they make a covering, but not of my ruach? See, so that's what we out here doing. When we sin, we try to cover ourselves with our own self. That's why they made fig aprons, something of the earth, carnal. It says, they heard the voice of Yahuwah Alahym walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam, his wife, and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahuwah Alahym amongst the trees of the garden. Yahuwah Alahym called unto Adam and said unto him, where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked and I hid myself. And he said, who told you you was naked? Have you eaten of the tree whereof I commanded you that you should not eat? And the man said, the woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. Yahuwah Alahym said unto the woman, what is this that you have done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. Now to remember, in the book of Nahum, he told, referring to Nineveh, he said, I'll pull up your skirts and show your nakedness. In Exodus 32, when they made the golden calf, and Moses said to Aaron, you done made the people naked before their enemies. Revelation 16 and 15 tells you how he say, watch and keep your garments, lest you be found naked and they see your shame. So see, when you're dealing with what come in with the Torah show your shame or your nakedness and show your sin. See, you don't have a covering with the Torah. But look how he show you, pointing you to something later on down the line. Verse 20. Because we don't got to look in all them curses and things of that nature. At least not right now. At least not right now. I'll be able to get everything that I had planned for the evening. And we can roll. Genesis 3 and 20, right? And it says that, and Adam called his wife's name Eve because she was the mother of all living. Unto Adam also and to his wife Yahuwah made coats of skins and clothed them. So now Yah gave you a covering. That coats of skin, this is my flesh. You join with him, it's pointing you to a Mashiach, how Yah gonna cover your sins. See, you can't cover your sins. Y'all got to do it. See, we don't like that narrative. See, that narrative don't work for us because we want to do the work. But y'all got to do the work. Let's look at the next thing that we see. Verse 22. Yahuwah Alahym said, behold, the man has become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. So now we have a dilemma. Now we have a dilemma. When we look at become one as us, it's Ikad there. Y'all know that, right? Y'all know that from John 17. Me and my Abba are one. Perfect in one. So when he said they become to be one of us, he said they're Ikad. They're joined with us. Aleph, Kod, and Dalet. The strength of the separation of the hanging or the sacrifice. They can't be like one of us. He said now they know which is Yada, which is to discern. Now we know Tob and Ra. He said, let's so they put forth, which is Shalak, Shan, Lamad, and Kot. So he said, you know what? That teaching is going to consume that separation. Because if they put forth their hands and grab this tree of life, they're not separated for us. They're going to be one with us, and we can't let that happen. And also take is the word lakak again. So he said, therefore, Yahuwah sent him forth from the Garden of Eden till the ground from whence he was taken. So again, there was condemnation with them because they were trying to go through the flesh or through the Torah versus no condemnation if they would have went through the tree of life, because he just told you that the tree of life was everlasting life. He just told you this. He said if they take from this tree, they will live forever. He just told you this. Verse 24, so he drove out the man and placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims. And a flaming sword was turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life, which is the guard, which is that shamar again. So what is that referring to if that's the tree of life? That means faith was shut up until the time it was revealed. And this, so to speak, you could say is the beginning of the mystery of Alahym, even though the mystery of Alahym is beginning in Genesis chapter 1. He kept faith shut up from you until the time where it would be revealed that you could partake and live. I want you to come over here to Romans. Come and let y'all slide on out of here. Because now we're going to start working that journey, unfolding these mysteries. Which we've always been unfolding the mystery of Alahym and the mystery of iniquity. And of course, a couple years back, we focused on the mystery of iniquity exclusively in and of itself. But, and by the grace of Alahym, we always deal with the mystery of Alahym, but kind of do it in a different fashion. 9 and 30. This is what we finna read here in Romans 9 and 30 is what we see occurring in the garden. He said, what shall we say then? That the Gentiles which follow not after righteousness have attained to righteousness, even the righteousness which is of faith. But Yasharal, which followed after the Torah of righteousness, have not attained to the Torah of righteousness. That's what we've seen just happen. They went after, because the knowledge of good and evil, the Torah is righteous, without question. And they followed after that, but they didn't attain to the righteousness that was available to them in regards to believing in Hamashiach, or having faith, so to speak. Say, wherefore, because they sought it not by faith, but as it by the works of the Torah, and they stumbled at the stumbling stone. This is what you just seen happen with Adam. They stumbled at the stumbling stone because they sought it by the law and not by faith. They didn't even think to consider, why don't we just eat of the tree of life instead of this tree what he talking about? Y'all told you could have ate of every tree, and he just mentioned 2 of them specifically. The tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. You could have ate from, like, why didn't it cross your mind to eat from this one? To be taught from this one? Why didn't that cross your mind? And now that's what we see in this present day, that they're seeking after righteousness by the Torah, but they're not attaining it because they're not seeking it by faith. So they're stumbling the same way that Adam stumbled. You still stumbling. You still falling up because you thinking the law is what's going to justify you, not knowing you a debtor. You got to do everything in it because you ain't got the faith to justify you. Yahushua can't justify you, so you're going to have to hold the whole law down. And if you sin in one area, you done. The whether being justified by faith and being born again, and then you ain't got to worry about falling and transgressing it, because it ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. You know, we done touched a lot of things in 2 hours time. And I feel like that we probably don't need to add any more on top of it. So hallelujah for Yahusha, for the word, for knowledge, for wisdom, for understanding, for his Ruach HaKadosh, and for the sacrifice of his son. Prayerfully, everyone got understanding, got of all of those things. If you did not, you know, let me know so that you can. But the premise of what we were looking at is seeing that the tree of good and evil was the law. The tree of life was faith. They had an opportunity to be justified by faith and had no condemnation if they would have, because Yah would have not condemned them if they would have ate from the tree of life. But they sought it by the works of the law, the works of the flesh, and that led to their condemnation, because the law is knowledge of condemnation, because of it's the knowledge of sin. So, and then of course to see that those things proceed from him, and the bondage that comes from sin, not from the law, but from sin, and that we seek to be justified and be freed from the sacrifice of a Mashiach and to work those works. Seeing how we were chosen in him from the beginning in another location, as we've seen in other numerous places. And then also in the regards of how he sprung up on the ground to water you and to preserve you and to make you. So hold fast to your faith. Model yourself after your Alahym and follow him with all your might, all your strength, and all your soul. And as you know, as I mentioned, like Paul say, follow me as I follow Mashiach. But even if you was to say, hey, that man's an example, you ain't following that man or emulating that man. You're just emulating the man that the man who he following. You know what I'm saying? Which is Yahusha, which is really Yahuwah. Because at the end of the day, we just really following our Father's lead. He done set the tone. All we got to do is just play the instruments. So I bless everybody out the house of Yah, name of Yahushua HaMashiach. You know what I mean? You know, like I said, if you don't understand, you know, just comment on the video. I give you my phone number, man. You can call me if you already ain't got it, and we'll make sure that you understand. But, you know, stay strong in your faith. Continue to learn and seek after your Alahym with every ounce of your being and take on his character. Learn of him and take on his character and be filled with the Spirit, that we all may look at each other, Yahuwah willing, on that great and mighty day, walking through the gates of New Jerusalem. Not even New Jerusalem, just entering into the land, period, on the day of the Lord, and knowing that you have achieved your objective and you have made it into his kingdom. So with that being said, Yahuwah willing, till tomorrow, and we'll be on Commonwealth, I will bid you adieu.